Before you had a VCR, there were certain movies that you did get to see again and again, and Wizard of Oz was one of them. It would be on, like, I guess around like Easter, or was it Christmas, or it was around some holiday.
Christmas or something.
All kinds of like urban legends associated with Wizard of Oz. And oh, by the way, this is the Total Recall Show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life, King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
Follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli, or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
But like, so there's all those, and there's like the sinister urban legends and stuff about like people killing themselves on the set or whatnot. That Judy Garland died on the set of of
Toto killed her.
Yeah, but it's been like a fake Judy Garland ever since. But like the one, it was like a kid version of an urban legend. But it was that they start filming the movie, and then partway through filming it, they invent color film. And then it switches over to like that. It was just just happened in real time.
I wish I was on that urban legend. Like the one, somebody needs to make a movie about like the Munchkin murder.
There was a movie with Chevy Chase in the early '80s, maybe even 1980, called Under the Rainbow, and it was about like the Munchkins, like a sort of like a behind the scenes Munchkin kind of thing. I never saw it, but. I think Billy Barty's in it, but wow. I never I don't know. So it would be interesting to do sort of like a like you said, like a true crime,
like Wizard of Oz. And we would watch it in school too, and we would try to I'd be like, please, the teacher would be like, you might see
something disturbing.
These guys were the played the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. That blew my mind.
Yeah, lots of like double roles and triple roles. An episode of Fame where they do the Wizard of Oz, and it's the same, like the various like characters in Fame. I think Doris is Dorothy. She bumps her head or whatever, and so she's in the school. She's in like the cafeteria and stuff. And,
that's awesome.
Bruno is like the Scarecrow, and
it scared the crap out of me when I was little. Was the introduction of the Cowardly Lion.
Oh, put him up! Yeah, because he's roaring. There was like a tension when he shows up.
He like jumps out of the woods.
Total bully though, like has a glass jaw. She like smacks him, and then he's like, "Why'd you do it?" Yeah, he's feeling sorry for himself.
Then the Tin Man. Was it an urban legend, or did it really happen where he was like the makeup made him sick?
Yeah, that was Buddy Ebsen was going to be the Tin Man, and they used aluminum dust for the makeup.
God.
And gee, what could go wrong with that? So so pretty soon his lungs were completely coated with aluminum. I mean, it almost killed him. So then, forget this guy's name. He looks like Vic Damone from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Like he's his grandfather or something.
It's Damone. He's like offering concert tickets to everybody here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Damone. There he
It's
is.
like Damone.
Damone.
The girl who lived next door to me when I was a kid, she was adopted, and she told us that her mom was Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. I don't know if she said like Judy Garland, but she said it was Dorothy from Wizard of Oz was her mom. I don't think the math adds up, like when Judy Garland died, but the movie's kind of sinister to begin with like Mrs. Gulch stealing your dog.
That's so
that
screwed
story's
up.
like extra disturbing watching it now, because like the parents are kind of powerless, and Mrs. Gulch is like kind of powerful in the town, and it's a little chilling.
Yeah.
Good for and like Toto gets away, but like hopefully Mrs. Gulch got killed in the in the tornado because she's coming right back. Yeah.
That's so creepy, and she's like a town bully.
Mm-hmm. And then you hear the stories about Judy Garland where it's like they were like drugging her so that they, like all the stuff that is like why we needed like child labor laws and stuff, and specifically child labor like for Hollywood laws and stuff.
I wonder if Toto's still alive. I love Toto.
Yeah, Toto's pretty great. Yeah, we're on to like the 46th Toto. Like the DNA of this movie is just through like everything. It's like an early fantasy classic, and like when Star Wars came out, there were a lot of comparisons of like, oh, they're doing Wizard of Oz, because like he kind of like Luke Skywalker kind of meets all the characters just like Wizard of Oz, and like Chewbacca's the Cowardly Lion, and C-3PO's the Tin
so
Man,
funny.
and the Jawas are the Munchkins, and the TIE Fighters are the Flying Monkeys. Darth Vader's the Witch, and like how they have to wear like the armor. They disguise themselves as the sort of guards in the fortress.
That is spot on.
Mrs. Gulch. I remember her being on Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, and she had like a perm at that point.
Yeah.
Kinda like
That
how
was
like
shocking.
old ladies in that era got a perm. There's also at the Warhol Museum. There's like an Andy Warhol painting of Margaret Hamilton as the witch. Taken in like the 70s or the 80s, and and she's got the witch outfit, but then she's got the perm. Too. Aunt Em, Uncle Henry, are the Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen.
They're drinking blue milk like on the.
Yeah, you don't know because it's in black and white. So yeah, then she like steps through and it's color and like, like as a kid that kind of blew your mind, And
it pops so hard. Is that Technicolor?
Yeah, they set it up so well because it's like the color's so dazzling, like it's perfectly designed and she steps out. Everybody in film school, like they couldn't wait to do a film with that where it's like they're gonna have black and white and then have it go to color and it's gonna blow your mind. And like I remember the instructor saying like warning us ahead of time because she'd basically seen every student film cliche, so she was trying to help us like sidestep the cliches and be like, don't do this or this because everybody who comes in here does this and it's shit, so just don't even try something else instead, and so one of them was like, okay, in these first couple exercises we're filming in Super 8, so don't try to do the black and white to color thing because it's not going to turn out the way you think, because Wizard of Oz works because it goes from black and white to glorious Technicolor chosen. She's like, the color on this Super 8 film stock is barely color. A bright red is basically like a dull brown, and a blue is basically like a gray. Like it's not like you're barely going to be able to tell the difference between the black and white and the color. And of course she was right. Everybody, nobody listens, of course, which is part of like being a teacher, but nobody listened, and so there were a bunch of black and white to color. And yeah, it was exactly as she described. It was like from mud to mud, So we got Professor Marvel. He's like speaks very grandly and puts on this kind of air, but then he's like, when she leaves, he's like, poor kid, like it's like he's gonna talk street for a second and let you know that that he's like a man of the people, and this is a big put on. This is like a very like early 20th century comedic type of like the fraud, the sort of charming old fraud.
Yeah.
Uncle kind of like Uncle Marvel in the Captain Marvel stories.
His hot dogs looked good.
Yeah, he's got plenty of them. Doesn't mind Toto eating one. A good-natured fellow.
Yeah, some beans on the fire.
Yeah, like a remake of Blazing Saddles. That's the flame that's under the wizard. He's immediately like stealing stuff out of her basket and stuff.
He does the Johnny Carson
Karnak.
Yeah.
The music in this is psychedelic and crazy enough. Like, I mean, you got Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's like a classic, this classic ballad, been done a million times. And then, but like the Munchkin music, where everybody's voice is like sped up. It's like chipmunks.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's kind of psychedelic, and it's like this combination of these sort of like fantasy characters mixed with like 1930s, street urchin kind of, the Lollipop Guild. They're all tough.
Yeah, they're like longshoremen.
Yeah.
The Munchkins are unloading like merchandise from a ship.
We represent the Lollipop Guild. And doing that kick like that. Yeah, you don't want to see those guys in a dark alley. Love the set. Love like the fakeness of it, and yeah,
it's just so awesome. And then like
and that thing of like, we're not in Kansas anymore. Like it really is like you're in this like drab everyday world, and then now you're in glorious Technicolor in this like lush fantasy world, and watching it in this sort of like high quality on a big screen. It's so fun seeing like where the set ends and where the painted backdrop begins.
Whenever she has to walk the yellow brick road, when I was little, I'm like, man, why does she have to start in there and go out and around? Like, just cut.
Well, there's also like going next to it for the swirl is the red brick road, and I always wondered like, where's the red brick road? I think we talked about that in another episode.
Who is drugged more during this movie, Toto or Dorothy?
Glenda the Good Witch, like she's as scary as any of them. Like that
Definitely.
weird way that she talks.
Stop it, lady! You scared me.
And that bubble, it's like the big bubble in The Prisoner that.
Oh my god!
Chases Patrick McGowan, and there
she
she is, Billy Burke. The Munchkin City looks like Ewok Village.
It does. They're like yum num.
I was just at the toy store today, and the Ewok Village, they had a complete Ewok Village for $140. Would you spend $140 for an Ewok Village, or is that too rich for your blood?
If I was, I would pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Complete Ewok Village.
Yeah.
They had the
Ewok
net
Village.
and everything.
The net, yeah, the spit that they roast you on.
Wow.
To unhitch. Well, a wicked witch, throw her in a ditch. Well, who knows what they're saying? It's all sped up.
The witch.
And like the Wicked Witch of the East, who's like, crushed under the house, and those like creepy socks. They
So
curl
disturbing.
up. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Like she punches through the floor of the house, and it's like, I'm back.
Yeah. Sam Raimi did that. Like prequel.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. This Munchkin sequence goes on, but it's like, and sort of the plot kind of stops, and like each faction kind of does their song and dance, but you don't mind at all. It's like, yeah, let's stay in Munchkin Land like as long as possible.
They got an all-day sucker.
Yeah, they're congratulating themselves. Poppies. Yeah, the witch. The witch is like perfect too. Like she's sprinkled through this movie the perfect amount. It's like, things are going okay. It's kind of fun, and then she like pops it to remind you of the stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great makeup. Great. The green. I remember when they made when Sam Raimi made his prequel. It was like they were forbidden by like the studio that initially MGM or whatever. They were forbidden to use that specific shade of green because it's an intense green.
It really
so they had to go
is.
with like a paler green than that. Look at that! It's like almost blue.
Wow, and that green. You're right. You just associate that only with like the Wicked Witch.
Yeah, they the Margaret Hamilton episode. Oh yeah, and like there's like the trapdoor she falls in, and Margaret Hamilton would tell the story of how like she like caught fire, like
oh my god,
and hurt herself like going down the trapdoor as she goes down the trapdoor, and there's the gout of flame, and like her Mr. Rogers episode, it was kind of like the Lou Ferrigno Hulk episode.
It definitely was.
Where you're like a kid, he finds something you're scared of and kind of shows you that, hey, it's just a normal person pretending.
He goes to see Margaret Hamilton, and she like slaps him around. She like chokes him out.
Mr. McFeely joins her entourage, like how he joined Lou Ferrigno's entourage. My sister played Dorothy in like her 8th grade production of Wizard of Oz. She was really good too. She like really looked the part.
That's
she
awesome.
Played the part well. And then like afterwards, we had kind of like a party at our house, and like some of like our friends and family and relatives and stuff came who had seen the show came there, and there were a couple like little kids there, and they were like elbowing each other, like they were like when she walked in the door, they were like so excited to see like Dorothy because she was like still in like, full costume.
That's great.
There's a little bit of Americana. That's kind of like another thing that's interesting about Wizard of Oz, because like a lot of these stories like Alice in Wonderland and stuff, a lot of them are like England or Germany or France. Like this is kind of like that type of sort of fairy tale type story, but it's American. It's got like Americana in it and Americanisms and sort of like like a American farm kind of stuff. Look, you see her like walking towards the wall where where the painting continues. Like she's getting closer and closer. She's about to bash into the wall. Yeah.
I always like this part. I'm like,
Yeah, and you see the yellow brick road kind of snaking into the background. ADR for the scarecrow, as he's pointing the different directions. Well, you could go this way. Every time, like, yeah, when I was a kid, you'd watch this like every year at the same time, and it was still like surprising and tense, and you're like, oh gee, what's going on with this scarecrow? Is she gonna?
I like how when he comes off of his like moorings.
Yeah, he's got to get his land legs back.
Guy, like, he felt like he was truly like made out of rubber.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, good casting in this. I think Buddy Ebsen, like, also, like, I think he auditioned for the Scarecrow too.
Okay.
And if he had gotten the Scarecrow role, then yeah, he would have been in the whole thing. But he got the Tin Man role. And,
jeez, he's like, we're gonna paint the inside of your lungs silver.
Crispy Wheats and Raisins had like a Wizard of Oz kind of thing, and then there was like a cereal called Corn Bran, and I think like they had a scarecrow that was kind of like the Wizard of Oz scarecrow talking to the kid about Corn Bran.
He's like, there's more ADR. He talks to Dorothy about Corn Bran.
Crispy Wheats and Raisins. The ruby slippers are like a good call too, because in the book they're like silver shoes. But it's like, yeah, in the Technicolor, those rubies really, like yeah, boom.
Like...
And Echo, like, her lipstick.
The color's popping.
Really great color design. Great color design on her costume, too, because it's like this, like, cream color, and then this, like, blue checker, and then, yeah, like, red cheeks, red lips, and then bright ruby red slippers. And reddish hair. Scarecrow's like the favorite of the character
trio.
Of the trio, yeah, the comedic trio. I mean, we love all. I love the Cowardly Lion's song. What do they got that I ain't got? Courage.
If I was the king of the forest.
What was he's like, who put the ape in the apricot? I love that one. I don't know how they got oil can out because. He's saying oil can. It's like, how did you get that? And when they're squirting the oil on his mouth and he's kind of like moving around, like it looks tasty. Like you want some of that oil.
And the sound effect of the oil can's like.
Yeah, I like the sound of the novel. I got to recommend the novel Wicked. Really great novel. Really good like deconstruction of the Wizard of Oz story. Very good. Very good.
Is it like a prequel or is it? I can't remember.
It is a prequel. It's like all this stuff. It's like all leading up to and then Dorothy's story happens towards the end of the story, but it's kind of like in the background. It's told in like broad strokes, but yeah, it's all like kind of the build up to like how we get here, and it's a very like serious and very political and like really like not what I was expecting. Really like excellent book. Can't recommend it enough. I think he said oil can. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? There, like I was reading some of the script for Wizard of Oz, and that part where it's like, wherefore art thou, Romeo? That was, like Judy Garland was supposed to sing that part, but then for some reason they just got some like off-camera voice saying
do that.
It's like, what the fuck? Like, doesn't that oil look? It's hooch. Oh, more of that, please. Does that hurt? It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Boop boop. I also like in this scene how like the witch is kind of on the periphery. Like you kind of like it's she doesn't like make her presence known to them yet. You kind of see her skulking, and then they have their like kind of fun little scene, and then she shows up in like her full glory, her full terror. Oh, put him up.
Put him up.
Who put the ape in the apricot? Cowardly Lion's the funniest. Laugh out loud at his antics. He's good. He does good faces and stuff.
We missed it. This is it.
Yeah, because he comes out of the back. That sort of jungle set is kind of intimidating, and you know there's all those like giant trees and like the roots wrapped around them. Yeah, he shows up from the background, and when they would run it on TV, those like interstitials, they'd go to commercial and they'd show you like a scene that's coming up. So it's like, you know, you'd see like the scene with the Scarecrow, and then they'd show you a little bit of the Tin. You'd see the Tin Man going whoop whoop, and then like they do the Tin Man scene, and then they go to commercial and they show you a little bit of the lion coming out of the darkness. You know what it is like talking about how this is part of like the DNA of all cinema going forward. It's like Apocalypse Now, you know, those scenes where they get out of the boat, and then it's like, you know, they're in the forest, and then like a tiger comes out.
It was a fucking tiger.
Yeah.
This is it. This scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it looks like he was on like a trampoline, or so that was a pretty nice jump. Yeah, think about a production like this. You know, like they just don't make them like this anymore. You know, huge sets. You know, I guess a Star Wars movie like you know, the Force Awakens or something. With that set that had all the fake trees. I mean, I guess that's the kind of movie where they do this kind of thing where they build these immense sets and just.
It's nice to see just stuff on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's what J.J. Abrams was trying to do with his Star Wars. Was he wanted to do it, you know, and the other guy too,
Rian Johnson.
Yeah, Rian Johnson was like, you know, they were both trying to do as much like
practical
stuff. And then his tail has its own zip code. Like I love the tail does great acting. It's like Dr. Manhattan's dick in Watchmen.
Andy Serkis.
Mm-hmm.
He's got two.
Andy Serkis swinging on a rope, playing Dr. Manhattan's dong. Oh, you didn't have to hit me.
This is always scary when he was like, oh, there it is.
Chasing her, smacks him on the nose. I'd turn back if I was you.
Toto. She's always got him in like a. Put your man a stranglehold, baby.
Yeah, when they go in the castle, the music's good and there's the tension, and then they're yo. Now I had heard another like urban legend was that there are lyrics, and those are actually lyrics, and they're saying, "Oh, we loathe the old one," like it's kind of setting it up that like they hate the witch, even though, you know, like she's their boss. And signs their paychecks, but they hate her because she's just so mean, and so that it sets up them being like excited when she kills the witch. But I've listened. They're not saying that. They're just saying, "Oh, we yo." They're not saying, "Oh, we loathe the old one."
Dude,
"Oh, we loathe the old one."
You turned me on to two new urban legends.
Well, I'm filling your head with nonsense because I'm telling you these like debunked urban legends. It's like less than worthless information.
I start like posting about it immediately. I'm like, I heard somewhere.
It does, like, there are moments in this, you know, again, it's a movie you watch a million times when you're a kid, and so like you do get scared. You're like, how are they going to get in there? How, you know, and then they and then like when Dorothy's looking at that crystal ball and she like turns. The witch turns the hourglass over and it's like, you're gonna die, and it's like, oh my god, Dorothy's really gonna die.
Or in that like poppy field, and it's like the color's just so great there, and
poppies. Yeah, I mean that kind of feels like a Apocalypse Now kind of thing too. Like, you know, it's like they're in this like drugs zone.
We're playing Dark Side of the Moon here. The second roars when you drop the needle. They're like,
yeah, the witch. She's the star of this. Yeah, and it's like a quest narrative, and they keep getting obstacles, and the guy at the door won't let him in. You know, watching Lord of the Rings, in the third Lord of the Rings, when like Sam and Frodo put on like the orc, they beat up some orcs and then put on orc costumes. It's like, oh yeah, Wizard of Oz. And Tolkien was still working on Lord of the Rings when Wizard of Oz came out, so, you know.
Of course, yeah, you put it in. Like, I love it when guys beat up like a henchman and like put on their disguise.
It happens in Tron. Flynn punches the one red guy, and then the red rubs off on him, like his circuits turn red.
The snow and the poppies.
Yeah, good solution to the problem. A little Deus Ex Machina.
Oh man, I love this.
Yeah, the witch flying, the little tiny witch flying around on a string. The tornado special effect is so much fun.
So good. The witch on the string was always one of my favorites.
That's pretty great. Yeah, and again, like, you know, watching H.R. Puffin stuff and see them riff on every last element of this. Yeah, and then you got like the Art Deco Emerald City, and yeah, so you have this bright red, and then you have this bright green. It's like great use of the medium of film, of Technicolor film.
I should have had.
Who rang that bell?
He's like,
well, bust my buttons.
that's what.
Why didn't you say so? That's a horse of a different color. He talks like Jackie Martling. Use your finger.
Wizard, he's like he had a jetty that like
the jetty.
It's like, it broke free. And he's like, I had the interns take the jetty. And like,
I like that the wizard's like a scam artist. You know, like he's a fraud. Like there's, you know, he's a con artist. Like again, he's like a P.T. Barnum. You know, it's an American fairy tale. So you got like a P.T. Barnum kind of like hype man kind of
a huckster,
yeah, scam artist.
Well, bust my buttons.
Bust my buttons. Who rang that bell?
It's Jackie. He's like, the jetty broke free.
The jetty. Use your finger. Hot dog and donuts.
He's like, nobody bought my joke book or whatever.
And of course they used like purple aluminum dust to paint the horse. Several horses died.
It's dying on film. It's like
you see the shadow of the horse go.
They show them carrying to the glue factory.
I like when they get their makeovers. You know, it's got a makeover scene too, and the Tin Man gets polished. Dorothy gets a blowout, and the lion gets like a bunch of bows and stuff tied in. Quit busting my balls! You're busting my buttons here. And these guys who are stuffing, they're like the guys at the gas station, coming, with their little hats coming out to fix your car. Yeah, Tin Man's getting buffed. Look at these three guys. They're like all drunk. I'm sure like everybody on this set was bombed,
Judy's like, I got some stuff left over from the poppy field.
Surrender, Dorothy. Anytime I see a skywriter, I think of the witch, writing her messages in the sky. Surrender, Dorothy. What's a Dorothy? Let's ask the wizard. He'll know. I think this is like so early in like the history of Hollywood. And of course, there were like Wizard of Oz movies before this. There were ones like starring Laurel and Hardy, silent Wizard of Oz movies, like a whole series of them prior to this. So this is like, it's early, from our perspective, it's early in the history of Hollywood, in the history of like film. But like film had been running for a while by the time they did this. So this was like a reboot. This was like a polished, spectacular, reinterpretation of an old classic by the time it came out.
The Laurel and Hardy ones, I'm gonna try to track those down. I don't remember like seeing them or like.
That was like a big thing like during the VHS boom where it's like, ooh, I like Wizard of Oz. What else is there? So it would be like there's Return to Oz, and then there'd be like a whole rack. I think there were like 14, like Laurel and Hardy silent Wizard of Oz.
I'm gonna
movies.
check that out.
David O. Selznick or whoever, like, and Victor Fleming's the director. Like you usually hear about David O. Selznick more in because I think this movie kind of like predates auteur theory. Also, it was kind of like, oh, the producer is the guy, is the creative person. At least that's how David O. Selznick tried to like promote himself. But it was like that they tested this with like child psychologists and stuff, and that the idea of making it a dream, because in the book it's not a dream, like she like genuinely gets transported to this other land, almost, and not even like another planet or like a portal to another dimension, just like this other country that nobody's been to before, because the land of Oz is like surrounded on all sides by desert. So that's why no one's ever been there, because the story predates the airplane,
Yeah.
Nobody has ever crossed these deserts that they got to. Talking to child psychologists, they're like, okay, we don't want to fill these kids' heads with a bunch of nonsense. We don't want to teach a bunch of children that this kind of imagine that witches are real or whatever. So we got to establish that, no, this is a dream. This is a dream world. You see her get knocked on her head and spin around, the room spins around. And then by the end, it's like, oh, it was all a dream. But
they're like, we don't want kids to like have nightmares.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, like that's so it's a pretend story. Let's just say it's a pretend story, and she like really goes there. It does set up Return to Oz nicely though.
Oh,
'Cause it's
yeah.
like she's telling these stories that, you know, hey, we've seen the movie. They are clearly fantasies, and it's like, no, it's true. It's true. They send her to an institution. And,
Jeez,
you know.
yeah. That's
Return to Oz. Did we do a Return to Oz episode?
No, we gotta do a
we gotta
Return
do
to-
that. There's so many episodes we talked about doing, but just never did.
Woody.
This scene where he takes a clay pot and breaks it to make his crown. And so, like, how many takes are there where like somebody like injures their hand or gets it like embedded in their forehead?
He cuts his real hand
Yeah.
off.
Nick Chopper. That was the. I mean, we could do like an Oz episode where we go deep with like the Oz mythology, but the like in the books, the Tin Woodsman. His name is Nick Chopper, and he's basically like a cyborg. He started out as a man. He was just like a regular woodsman, and then with his axe, he accidentally cut his hand off. I think maybe there might have been some magic involved, like maybe the witch put a spell on his axe or whatever, that every time he used it, he like cut off another piece of himself. But he cut off his hand and then got a tin hand made, and then
Okay.
cut off his leg, got a tin leg. So bit by bit, and pretty soon he has cut off every part of his body and been completely, like, you know, the broom and the broomstick, the ship of Theseus. He's been completely replaced. So Nick Chopper has been completely replaced and is now a completely tin man because he cut off every last bit of himself.
That's wild, dude. I didn't realize that was how were like the origins of the Tin
Yeah,
Man.
this stuff's interesting. The Oz stuff. It's kind of fun to do like a deep dive into the Oz stuff.
Nick Chopper,
Nick Chopper, yeah.
Richard Chopper.
Dick Chopper, yeah.
Like-
That was the first thing he cut off. I guess he had to cut that off at some point if he's completely tin.
Richard's like just go Richard Chopper.
And he marries a tin woman named Cass Trader. It's an epic. It deserves it. We've only scratched the surface.
I'm like
Yeah.
Richard Chopper.
That's some-
Dick Chopper.
That's some mustache on that guard, and you know, and it's
Delicious.
held on with spirit gum.
Spirit gum.
as you're well
I'm well
aware.
versed.
And yeah, she kills the witch, splashing her with a bucket of water. In Wicked, in the novel Wicked, you know, this crew, Dorothy and her friends, are kind of like puppets of the wizard. It was kind of like a political assassination, basically.
Oh my god.
The murder of Alphaba is what her name is. The forest of Nick Chopper, which is kind of like, oh, you know, we're getting into some wild area, and there's some like talking trees that throw apples at you and stuff, and it's a little scary. And then you go into the lion's jungle, and it's like, okay, this is getting a little more scary. We're a little further from home. And then you get the witch's forest, which is like
So
Mordor or
scary.
something. It's like just pure evil. It's like a Halloween forest. Yeah. Yeah. So where's like the person who hung themselves? Are they in the background of the witches thing?
I thought it was either after the Tin Man or the lion in that forest area.
The witch, like the flying monkeys are terrifying. I love her crystal ball, and like I'd love to know the mechanism behind it, because it's kind of like this like TV crystal, like they're projecting film maybe into the side of it, and then it's kind of, you know, getting
Blown out.
like maybe it's not even like a full sphere. Maybe for those scenes it's like a
Like
half
half.
a sphere, yeah, with almost like a primitive TV
Look
screen
at this.
projected.
How do they do that?
Yeah, this is like I mean, again, thinking of like the 70s Flash Gordon, all those.
Die.
Yeah, like isn't that like the exact shot in Flash Gordon of the Hawk people? And then yeah, just it also kind of looks like a Lucas, that like Phantom Menace or something, when like the background of Coruscant, all the little spaceships flying in the background.
Lucas was definitely, he's like got this on repeat.
Well, yeah, because they were all like film school guys, and what could they be watching in film school? You know, they're watching all this stuff, and then you make, you know,
Your movie.
you make your movie, which is like a pastiche of like everything you watched in film school.
That was always scary when they take off with Dorothy and then they're like pouncing.
Yeah, and they carry Dorothy off, and again, it's like some cool like miniatures, and they have this like these flying monkey miniatures where the wings are flapping, and then they have a Dorothy miniature where it's got like a little mechanism where her like legs are kicking.
Felt so bad for him here.
Scarecrow getting taken apart. It's always fun to kind of like take on these classics, like you know, give them our
The Total Recall
the
piece.
Total Recall treatment, Total Recall piece theater, Put them under the microscope.
Well, now you got me checking out Laurel and Hardy. Their Wizard of Oz.
Harl and Lardy.
Harl and Lardy.
That's how you remember like which one's the skinny one and which one's the fat one. It's Harl and Lardy. And there's the album cover for ELO.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what Margaret Hamilton. I wonder what she looks like, just like, you know, in her street clothes in this era. You know, not done up as like evil Miss Gulch and not with the witch makeup. Yeah, and we got like Dracula's castle here, pretty much. I like those spears and the giant hats from like the guard in front of Buckingham Palace. You've been watching the Total Recall Wizard of Oz episode. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at Cinema_Tomb.
And check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli to see various comics I've been working on.
Follow the show at Total_Recall_show.
Okay, and we'll see you next somewhere over the rainbow.